The finance meeting to order. Is there any public comment? Hearing none. Property mapper. Who's on first?
All right, I'll start off.
You're gonna start off?
Yeah, and basically we'll go over this outline. The first point, I'm going to speak a little bit, and we'll call Gary up, and then for the second and third part, we'll be seeing how well we can do a live demo. So we really started web mapping in 2008. The current property mapper, this one, was launched in 2012 so we take the parcel line work and the CAMA database, and we push that out onto this web mapping application. It gets 20,000 page views per month and has a 5-minute average time on page. So I'll just throw it over here to Gary, and Gary can talk about the customer support that he has.
Okay. Primarily this page for the web mapping is primarily used by the realtors, the attorneys, engineers, surveyors, of course, in the general public. It's been a really good advancement for our office. It's cut down the foot traffic from the surveyors. When we were doing Mylar maps back in the day, we pretty much spent every rainy day in the office swamped with surveyors working on their upcoming survey where they would gather up their adjoiners and so forth and block their deeds. So we were pretty much start to finish all day making maps. The general public has learned to use the online maps. The online help has been tremendous. We get a lot of phone support for the online maps, just general questions. It's been a convenience to the general public, and they're able to work from home 24/7. The title searchers has really picked up on it as well. The public information, our parcel data is used by the assessment office to support the assessment process. It's shared with the planning, public safety, vector control offices. The local municipalities really depend on our mapping data, both online, since we're now current within a week, every Friday evening. The online system is now updated since our move to the geodatabase. We still sell DVDs. Everybody from engineering firms to the GPS companies, they do base maps for the in-house mobile devices and so forth, like Google Maps, so forth, to get our parcel lines. And the assessments office is going to benefit by moving on to this new online service. It's going to be available in the field. They'll be able to use it from any mobile device. By producing the maps online, keeping it as a free service and a free site, it still keeps our foot traffic to a minimum. I think it promotes the goodwill to the surveyors and the engineers, because they do provide AutoCADs for the mapping office in order for us to update the new subdivision plans. That gives us the ability to place a lot of the AutoCAD files when they're in the state plan coordinate system, so they're pretty much tied to the GPS system and they're very accurate. And I think this new service is going to serve the public well. It's much easier to use, which Justin will touch on all of that.
Okay. So we have this, the current property mapper is up here, you'll see in maroon, and it's a Flash application. It developed in 2012. So it requires the person's computer to have Flash. It doesn't work on many mobile devices at all. Most mobile devices does not work. And it does not work on Apple devices. So we've been developing a new property mapper. It's a JavaScript application, so it works on mobile devices, it works on Apple devices. We've had people using it on phones now. Just go out there, there's a little locate me button, so you can be standing out there with a mobile device, hit locate me, and zoom right into where you are. And we've really focused on simplifying the user experience. So things that took 3 or 4 button clicks on the current property mapper, stop calling it old, 3 or 4 clicks on the current property mapper, take 1 click. on the new property mapper. This is like the current property mapper. This is a commercial off-the-shelf software. So it is a solution that's included in our current Esri maintenance. So we're not really paying anything more for the product. It's just in-house staff time. So the GIS department has been customizing and coding this application really from April to September with a lot of help from Patrick, there from our GIS department, and George from IMTO. So we'll just do some live demos of this new site, focusing on different user experiences. So we'll go through what a regular user would do. Somebody who's just looking up their house, maybe. Then we'll look at how a real estate user would access the application. Then we'll really get into a power user. What's somebody who knows all the bells and whistles of the internet mapping, can look up everything we need to look at, and knows how to really dig into parcels. And then we'll look at all the different things you can do with the imagery. So a regular user is just going to come up here to the upper left-hand corner and maybe type in their address. I'll go to Camp Hills building, so I'm not. So I just typed in 1993 Hummel. That's going to zoom me into the only 1993 Hummel in the county, which is 1993 Hummel Avenue, Lower Allen Township's building. And there, we just type something in, hit enter, and we zoomed right into the property. You can see below, here's some other options if there may be some different choices. It recommends 1994 Hummel Avenue or 2001 Hummel Avenue. So there's that. So basic point and click functionality. So we looked at the property that we wanted to look at, and if we're just a regular user, we just want to be curious of what our neighbors look like. So we'll just click around, and we can see the parcel CAM information for all the surrounding properties. And then say we just want to print out the information. Just hit Control P. And let's see. I should do this. So it gets a little bit easier to use on Chrome or device, but this is Internet Explorer, so it's a little clunky. But there's our selected parcel, and there's our CAM information. If this was Chrome, it would just pop right up. I wouldn't have to actually send it to the printer. It would pop up an example. So that's the basic user experience for this application. Somebody who just wants the bare essentials. A real estate user now would be interested in sales search, or maybe looking at a whole swath of properties. So we can open up the road name, sales search and road name feature, and we can come through here and say we're going to do a sales search. We're going to look at sales between 200,000 and 500,000 in the last 3 months. We'll look at East Pennsboro. Okay, so this is properties that sold in the last 3 months between $200,000 and $500,000 in East Pennsboro Township. And here we get an attribute table that pops up with 14 features. So 14 properties met that criteria. And this is one of the major enhancements of this application. Is this integrated attribute table. So it works a lot like a spreadsheet where you're getting a lot of GIS desktop capabilities. And this is really what GIS is about. You have your line work, on the map, and you have the attribute information behind the line book. So we can come in here and we can say, okay, this is what I was looking for. I can double click on this record here and it zooms right to it at 299 West Shaden Lane. We can sort, let's say I want to sort by, let's go over here and find sort by square footage. So click on square footage, and then we can sort those 14 properties by square footage. Here we find one that's 3,000 square feet. Double click on that, zoom right to it. Another feature that a real estate searcher might be interested in is doing a road name search. So, go to road name. Let's say I want to look at all properties on Burnt House Road. So I'll type in Burnt House. Search. Here we get 107 properties on Burnt House Road. Sort it by site address, so I can go down here 102, 108, 114, 136, 138, and I'll type in, click on 138, and then we can zoom right into 138 Burnt House Road. And we can see all these properties on Burnt House Road. We can see, we'll sort by total assessed value, and we'll see, all the properties in order of total assessed value on Burnt House Road. So that's a basic functionality of what a real estate user would do with and is doing with our mapping application. What can a real power user, somebody who really knows their way around this application, get out of this software or this application? So let's go over here. Okay. So I want to look at these properties right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to my sales, I'm going to create a shape. I'm going to draw a polygon here. So I want to look at all the properties in that polygon that I drew. And it's going to create a selection for me. There's that selection of the 21 properties that I selected. And I can do the same thing with my attribute table here. I can sort, I can double click to zoom in. But I just wanted to select all the properties within that 21. Within that polygon I drew 21 parcels. Clear that. And now I can do some really advanced things with my attribute table. I can, so I'm going to come here and filter my attribute table. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for owner, contains, wheel. So I'm going to type in, so I'm going to search for all parcels where wheel, the word wheel is in the owner name. So I'm just going to reload it.
It's case sensitive.
And then it should be case sensitive. Let's see. So that's the real, if something doesn't work right now, it's just refresh. We have we have all 100,000 records in our property from our parcel count. The application really only goes 25 at a time, so there's no real way you can look at all 100,000 parcels unless you scroll down through all of them. So let's see. Okay. Let's see, it's thinking. Okay, there's 47 features. So there's 47 records in the county where wheel is in the owner name. And you see there's a wheeler, scrolling down further, there's a tire and wheel reinvestment company. So what I can do is I can further refine my search to say, I'm going to add another expression where I have acreage is greater than 1. So I'm going to look at all the parcels where wheel is in the owner name and acreage is greater than 1. So I'm going to narrow this down from 47 to 7 features. come over here and see, I'll sort by acreage. Where's acreage? It's right here. Sort by acreage, I can see, here we go, starting at 1.36, going all the way up to 101 acres. And there's my tire and wheel reinvestment property, perhaps the one I was looking for. So I can use my filter to really narrow that down and find exactly what I was looking for. So what the other features we have is some imagery. I'm going to move over to an area that's been developed, highly developed recently. So here's Walden in Silver Spring. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the parcel line so you can really see the imagery. So when I go to my base map gallery, we're currently looking at 2016 imagery. I can go back to 2011 imagery, or 2012, sorry, this is 2012. And then I'll go back to 2008. And then I can go back to 2003. So we can really see, you can really go back quite a ways. They're basically 4-year increments to look at development throughout the county. So I'm going to also, so not only do we have the ortho imagery based maps, I can pull up our pictometry. So let me go So all I need to do is, once it says I'm ready, just click on play location of the map. Expand this, make it bigger. This widget is much more user friendly now. Zoom in. You can look at this from another angle. So right now I'm looking at it from the south. Here's a view from the west. And this imagery is actually being pulled from Pictometry's cloud service. Everything else, the application and the other base mapping over here is being hosted by our GIS web server. But the imagery coming in here from the oblique imagery is from Pictometry's web server. And this is the imagery that we had flown in 2016. This is 3-inch resolution, and 3-inch resolution is really good enough to read the signs. There's bed, bath, beyond, and you can actually tell what kind of cars we have in the parking lot. So, any specific questions about the application itself? We've really tried to make the user experience much more friendly. You can see just the simplification. There's just one button click is necessary in many cases to find the information that you want. We've tried to put a lot more functionality in here with the attribute table, and we have more imagery options. Searches are, I think, being returned with more. The searches are being returned with more information because before we might have in the current application we have searches limited to maybe like 4 or 5 fields of results. Now you get all that parcel can information that we're putting out there.
That's pretty amazing stuff. So, in addition to those involved in the real estate business that take advantage of this, are municipalities
Yes.
utilizing?
Yeah, municipalities are using this. We also have our public safety people using this.
Right.
Because before initially we had tried to host the pictometry imagery ourselves and put it out there on the web. But the pictometry imagery is just a terabyte of information. It's just a huge data set. And it's not as efficient, it's not very efficient for us to try and host that. So we direct a lot of municipalities and a lot of public safety personnel to use this website to look at pictometry information. So they can see all the different angles of the properties. You know, that's helpful for seeing how many windows are on the side of the house. case there's an incident there, a fire, or police have to go to the scene. This has been helpful with municipalities and public safety emergency response.
So this is going to be, do we have it now that it works with Apple devices and other?
Yep, this works on Apple devices, it works on mobile devices, you can use this out in the field. But not the current one. The current one is still the one that everybody sees. We have this new property mapper. If you notice under number 2, you can see it says gis.ccp.net property mapper 22 at the end there. That's a little. It's just that's the website for this new application. Once this goes live, we'll just take the 22 off of it and we'll replace the current property mapper. So it's live, it's out there, it's just not linked anywhere. Nobody knows it's really out there unless we tell them it's out there.
Okay.
And we have been testing this for a couple months now.
So when will this be available to the general public to have easy access?
So under point number 4 here, we have this, we're doing the presentation for our commissioners here, and we still need to create help documentation. We're going to be doing that with the communications department and with IMTO. The GIS department's probably not going to create the help documentation just because we probably make assumptions that people understand things. We're probably a little bit too close to it. So we're looking at January 1st release date, and we're thinking we're just going to we're gonna try and put some information out there. Communications has helped us put together an initial outline for a communications campaign. But January 1st, we're thinking we're just going to make that the property mapper, and people will just see this site whenever they try to log in on the site on January 1st. Yep, you're on your mobile device.
So when I saw this, what really struck me, other than the fact that it's really neat, was the potential for additional self-service on the part of people who would normally interface person to person with your department with assessment. And as much as the existing one is helped cut down on your foot traffic, this could probably do even more so.
You don't need to go back to your desktop to access the current property mapper. You don't have it available right now. So I think it really helps the public out. They expect to be able to look at things on their phone or their tablets. So that's where we're trying to drive this application.
Just got to keep it user friendly, folks. For old timers like me.
And we have. And we realized that whenever we put up the current application in 2012, I would admit that there are too many button clicks. To look up a property, you think you have to take up 3 or 4 button clicks to select something. Yeah. Now I think it's pretty intuitive where you just come in, you zoom in. Well, it helps if I turn the parcels off to move the imagery. But if you just zoom in and 1 click, here's your info.
We should turn into some iTunes.
iTunes?
It's very complicated. No, it's got very good plans.
So with this application, it's really one of the more, of course, whenever you come out with a new internet application, you get 1 year of it being advanced. So, but it will be one of the more advanced applications in the state for county GIS.
Does this in here, does it identify the property as like a homestead property, clean and green?
Yeah, there is a clean and green.
Clean and green flag is in there.
Yeah, if it was clean and green, it would be I can actually come in here and.
What about homestead? Is that in there?
No, that actually be some published from some.
And then those are actually enrolled in clean, not just eligible, but
Yeah, the A would be approved.
So what should I type in here for the clean and green?
It's under a clean and green
What's the
flag.
flag? Is it a Y or an A?
An
5,256 parcels that are identified as clean green. So yeah, see they're all clean green right there. Double click. There's that one. Double click, there's that one.
Do we have the data for homestead property?
Yeah, it's just not published in the current property, or current parcel cam down extract, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot more fields here that are not, camel fields that are not published in the parcel cam that's accessible on our property mapper, which are accessible in the property record cards that are in
It's
courthouse
in the
online.
camera, but you just have a fine line between too much information where everything moves slow and clunky versus keeping it streamlined.
Yeah, there are
For the fields that are actually.
there are a lot of fields in this data set currently, and there's even more in the cam data.
Yeah, I think it's great. And you say this doesn't cost us anything.
It didn't cost us anything extra, just the development time that our staff has been working on. But I think that's time well spent, because we can, not only do we have this application, we know how this application works, we can customize it to how we need it. And we're also looking at some other applications for the same kind of template that we can just, we can now build up an application for other uses using this same sort of format. And we're looking at maybe some other applications for planning that we can set up using the same kind of format and utilizing an attribute table. It will take us, a fraction of the time that it took us to develop this one.
Just know the compatibility issue you referred to between the old and the new is the result of moving to Java instead of
Yeah.
Flash.
This one has Flash, so it actually required the desktop to have Flash installed because it's a flex-through application.
Which a lot of folks are moving away from because of security concerns. But Java has to be patched pretty regularly too, isn't it?
It's not Java, it's JavaScript.
JavaScript.
It's different.
Okay.
It's pretty much HTML5 code
Yep,
and
it's-
JavaScript.
it's
So I was going to
HTML5,
ask,
yeah.
because
It's JavaScript.
It's HTML5.
Apple and such, they abandoned Flash specifically to try to push the move to HTML5.
So, and it's just enhanced by the JavaScript coding that they've done on top of that.
Cool.
So how's the statewide advisory board, well, not 911 now, I'm talking about the other one that I think we serve on.
The geospatial
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, are they coming up with any plans to, have greater collaboration and cooperation?
Well,
statewide?
I've been working with the Mountain One Advisory Board, so I'm not as tuned in with what the Geospatial Advisory Board is doing. But PEMA is moving forward for funding imagery flights in 2018. So we're hoping to piggyback onto that in 2018, 2019, 2020. They're in the three-year cycle. Don't know exactly where we fall on that yet. But that should fall right along with our update cycle. We had this flow in 2016, so getting a 2019 or 2020 or 2018 flight would fall right in line with our update schedule for imagery. The Geospatial Board right now is working on really identifying all the players in the state and surveying and getting a handle on the scope of the work that's in front of them right now. So they will be, I believe they'll be making a report probably sometime in the first half of next year. But PEMA has been going forward. PEMA has a GI strategic plan that they're going to be putting in front of the 911 Advisory Board in December 15th.
16.
December 15th.
Oh, December 15th, sorry.
December 15th this year. PEMA's going to be putting forward a GI strategic plan to the 911 Advisory Board.
Yeah, we agreed at the last advisory board meeting to have a set aside, I think, for funding for this statewide GIS
Yep. Yep.
effort. And the good news from that is that it may actually help to reduce our cost, right, for the
Yeah,
the
it should help to reduce our cost. The plan, I believe, is to set a baseline for imagery collection, and then the counties can buy up from there. So I would anticipate our last flight cost us something around $260,000. I would anticipate our costs being cut in half, at least, by that.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so that's a good deal. That's a good deal. Well, this looks good to me, you know. You have any other- you have anything else?
Were you talking about the data?
I say move forward.
Were you talking about the data, where it comes from, or the search and loading thing?
Yeah, so I can go over that, but
And then,
So one of the things we didn't really struggle with, but we kicked around as a new feature was one of the main differences in this application. If you know what you're doing, you have to come in here, you have to turn on filter, and then you can add an expression, and then you can search by owner name. The current application, you cannot search by owner name, but it is public information. It is a little bit difficult to get to with this filter tool. But we did go through, Bonnie went through and looked at 10 different mapping applications throughout the state. And it's about a 50-50 split between whether they allow you to search by name or not. Some of them, it's the very first thing, very first option, search by name. It's public information. We decided to keep it in there. It's sort of an all or nothing thing. You either get the filter tool, or we have to cut the filter tool out. I'm of the opinion that we keep it in there. It's not overtly obvious to search for an owner name, but it is public information nonetheless.
we did take out the option to export the data into a CSV file, which is probably a good thing because we sell the DVD with all the data on it, so keeping that revenue source.
There is an option on this drop down. It's not here anymore, but they're in the initial stages of development. We have an option to export to CSV, so you could actually take this. It is possible to set this application up so that you can actually export this attribute table right into a spreadsheet and get that information there that way, which we probably will have set up for different applications, not property mapper. But we decided not to put that in there because we do sell the data as a whole data set through property mapping and through other data outlets and assessment. So we decided not to put that functionality in this application. The export to spreadsheet. And this attribute table really only loads 25 records at a time. So you can see I scroll down here and I got to the end. It's probably, yep, see it loaded another 25. And I'll scroll down. Now it's going to load another 25. So while it says there's 5,000 features here, it really only loads 25 at a time. So you're not really getting the whole data set. You have to scroll down and keep hitting. And we've tried out ways of actually selecting like this and then exporting this. It doesn't really work. I mean, you can't really just come in here and copy and paste this into a spreadsheet. So there's I don't really have any concerns of somebody coming in here and data mining this application to get the entire parcel camera record data set. But there are much more advanced functions in this tool to really narrow down the search to find exactly what parcel you're looking for by name or by location, or really any way you can think of to filter a parcel camera data. You can really narrow it down in this application and find exactly what you're looking for.
I think it would be good to promote this in terms of public use, public application, so that folks know that this is available. So I guess we're working on that, and we're going to work on help documentation and set that up. The other thing I would say is this might be a good topic for municipal advisory board officials, can learn as to what all is available.
And we do have, in our new pictometry purchase, we have a new pictometry internet application. You have to log in, and you can do some really advanced things with the pictometry imagery. You can measure height, all kinds of stuff. So we are now logging into that pictometry login site to look at the pictometry, be able to measure, and do basically everything you can do with pictometry. But this is pretty limited. This is, in this application, you just look at the pictometry and rotate it, and that's about really it. So there's a more advanced pictometry web application that we have municipalities using. Zoning officers and code enforcement, stuff like that.
Have you done a presentation at the outreach meetings about this? Or?
We had training in June, and we had quite a number of, I think we had about 20 municipal officials come in for training in June for that application.
Okay. Good. Do any of our municipalities still have their own GIS, or there's still?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's really, I say Hampton, Upper Allen, those are probably the two most advanced GIS shops in municipalities. Yeah, and there's quite a number of other municipalities that have GIS, and they find it useful for a lot of things that the county doesn't necessarily care about. So they have MS4 reporting. They have for like storm drains and outlets and best management practice devices, and they keep inventories of street signs and lighting, things like that. So yeah, the municipalities are quite interested in that, and we provide back to them. We do existing land use mapping, we do zoning mapping, and we provide all that data back to them so they can help get their GIS off the ground.
So I guess the only question again I have is we should be sharing, and I know the municipalities use what's available in the county, but the main thing is to avoid any duplicative expense on our residents and taxpayers.
Yeah, I don't really, I think we have a clear cut understanding of what the county produces, and then the county gives that to the municipalities, and the municipalities add on to that what they care about mapping.
Okay.
So the municipalities aren't out there mapping parcels or any of that kind of stuff, because they're getting that from the county to populate the base map,
Okay.
they then add on to it.
So whatever they're doing is not duplicative of what we've done.
Right. Now they might take the parcel layer and then add some fields onto the parcel layer for their own purposes to say, okay, we went out and inspected this property on this date or something like that. So they'll take the parcel layer and then they'll add on to that different
Is
things.
that information then that they can share back with us if we?
I mean, they can, but again, those are sorts of things that we don't necessarily care about. It's kind of a harsh way to say it, but we do so much mapping. I mean, we do much more mapping than they do. So that's why they take all of our data for the base map, and then they just add on the things that they care about.
The only thing I'm thinking about is public safety in terms of, remember we were doing, I think we had an intern here.
Doing hydrants, yeah. And we do, yep, common names and addresses. We have a sophisticated address point system, so we can share that out with municipalities.
I'm talking about the other way too, municipalities sharing.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting, when we move forward through Next Gen 911, that's something we're really looking at, is how do we not only get municipalities to give us addresses, of course, we want municipalities to give us addresses, and when we move forward from the MSAC, which is just basically address ranges at this point, this will say Strong Road has an address range of 100 to 900. When we move forward to Next Gen 911, we're going to have to get very specific. Say Strong Road has a 48 and it has a 52, but there's no 50. We're going to need to know all those things in Next Gen 911. And leveraging municipality support is very critical for us because it's municipality controlled address in Cumberland County.
Right, but we do know all that information. When the municipalities have building permits for new construction, they issue the building permit with a location address. That's worked out. When we get our subdivision plans from the municipalities, we activate them either on the deed transfer or the first building permit. And at that point, they have the addresses worked out that they send us lists. The assessment office puts that in the camera records, which when I put the database after one of these cutoffs with the camera, I package it up with the parcel lines and it populates that table with that current information as it comes online after it's already been determined by the township and the post office. The municipalities take our GIS data, I send DVDs down to them. They have their own building permit systems where they track the construction going on in their municipalities. They share those building permits with us and our inspections. I make a points layer over top of the parcels. The field assessors go out based on those permits that the municipalities send in. And those things are all projected and highlighted onto a map that guides the assessor through the field. So we do share data very well between the municipalities, and that does keep the addresses fresh based on the subdivision plans as they're submitted once they iron out what the actual house numbers are going to be. We
Is
also
that informational made then available to public safety too?
Yes, through the camera attributes. As I bring a new subdivision online, assessment builds a camera record with all the attribute information that you see when they have their monthly cutoff. I put that information together, I package up the parcel lines and the camera attributes, ship that off, and Justin, every Friday, they update their web mapping, and then that will be available to everybody.
I don't want to sell that short. There absolutely is municipal cooperation right now, getting addresses and getting all this data into the system. But as an example, here's 2900 Lisburn Road, and 2900 Lisburn Road is looks like maybe a bunch of apartments. So, you know, this whole site just does not have one address. There's probably many addresses here for like Winchester Drive and Rittenhouse Court. So what we're interested in is maybe putting address points in here for all these apartments. Maybe there's 8 apartments in here, maybe there's 16. So we want to get an address point in here for all these apartments. And that's really what we're interested in developing and getting quick turnarounds. You know, we want to get these addresses in there quickly, so we have to sort of make our workflows a little bit more sophisticated and working with municipalities and getting those address points in there for 911 to handle the requirements of the next generation.
Look, I'm going to ask you this next question, okay? I have to ask it. So this would mean, if the way I understood it, we're using this, next gen 911 is going to depend on GIS.
Yes.
As opposed to street addresses, right?
Well, currently, yes. It's just right now an enhanced 911. It's flat tables. So that's how they're handling call routing. So they say Lisburn. So they say Lisburn Road. There's just a single a line in a spreadsheet that says Lisburn Road has an address of a range of 1 to 1500 in Lower Allen Township, and that's how they route that call from that phone number or from that address to Lower Allen Township to our PSAP. So that's the information that goes into the enhanced 911. Next generation 911, that data is now spatial. It's not just a line in the table.
So my question was, you'll appreciate this, if and when we ever have municipalities that might consider merging, people aren't going to have to change their street addresses anymore, right?
We do have a listing of, I think it's maybe 20 addressing issues throughout the county we've identified. And some of those are addressing issues because the municipalities don't want to cooperate with each other and change addresses. Some of them are addressing issues that aren't necessarily that big of a deal, but aren't correct, and that municipality doesn't care to change their addresses. But we have identified everything that we know about. We've gone through we go through addressing all the time. We do have a list of addressing issues. There's about 20 different issues throughout the county. So there are potential for problems if some municipalities were to merge, especially Walnut Bottom Road and Ricker Highway have some crazy address ranges. As a couple examples. But we do have a handle on all the addressing issues throughout the county.
You follow my question on this? If we're not using municipalities any longer, or what the lists that we have.
One of the major changes I think that we could be looking towards is, and a lot of other counties have taken this route, is to have county centralized addressing. That really streamlines everything. A lot of counties have taken control of addressing away from the municipalities, or the municipalities have gotten together and say, we don't want to do this anymore, give it that responsibility to the county. I'd say about a third of the municipalities, or a third of the counties in the state have county centralized addressing. A third of the counties in the state have municipal controlled addressing, which we are one, and another third of the counties in the state have a mixture of both. So for these municipalities, the county controls addressing, and these municipalities, the counties have retained their addressing control.
But we're not relying on the telcos anymore. We won't be relying on the telcos anymore, of course, the street addresses, right?
Well, we still feed that information to the telcos. We feed that information for the telcos to create their MSAC currently. But in the next generation 911, they will be using the data that we produce. So they won't be using their own produced MSACs. They'll be using county-produced GIS data.
Yeah. Well, we got a ways to go. But I mean, the fact is that if you have your smartphone and you're out here on High Street, essentially, right now, you can be located, right? You can be located to 911. You place a call to 911, they can locate you.
With phase 2 wireless, they can locate you most of the time. Now, you're better off asking somebody from 911 this question. But with phase 2 wireless, they can locate you. Now, sometimes they don't have enough information for that. They just get, oh, you're calling from this cell tower. That's phase 1 wireless. So that happens quite a bit too.
I'm just listening to, it's going to be interesting as we move forward to this next generation 911, and if it's going to be based on GIS. And I'm just hoping that we can eliminate some of the problems that we've had, in the past with, the locations, especially with people that still might have, landline.
And with a lot of the cases, somebody will call from their cell phone, but they're calling about an incident, across the street, or they drove past an incident. So they still need to say, well, I saw this incident on the 100 block of, High Street, but I'm 10 blocks down the road now, so that locational piece is important.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we can talk about this all later.
Yeah.
Do you see any advantage in us going to a county central system?
Well, it sure would streamline the work, because Next Gen 911, they're calling for like 5-day, 3-day turnaround in getting addresses into the 911 system. And that's a pretty tight turnaround. I mean, currently we update our 911 system with GIS about every 6 weeks. So turning that around to 5 days, that's a much tighter window for updating addresses. And the more steps we can cut out of that workflow, the better. Because we have some municipalities that are only open for 2 days a week for business, and holding them to confirm addresses, or having them get addressing to us, sometimes is a challenge.
Maybe your subtopic for your presentation to the NAB.
Yeah.
While I'm with this, and then talk about the administrative part of it.
Okay. Yep, because we really do, because even if I don't go into saying, oh, we want to take over addressing, at least.
Yeah, exactly. Be careful with that.
I don't want to say that necessarily.
So all we have to do.
We're from the government, we're going to do anything.
The perception is still out there that, the county takes too long to get these up to date.
Yeah.
But that's, we're well past that, but that's still the perception. We have to knock it down.
Well, we have to work with these municipalities, because it's not uncommon for them to file a subdivision plan, name the streets one thing. I'll turn around and get a revised plan, and a month later, when they revise the streets, maybe they're changing the acreage of the lots and I have to scrub the entire map, start over. So we've got to also be careful, just because they submit a plan and these are the streets, that we don't hurry and get them on the map too soon.
And this Walden subdivision is the number one culprit.
I can tell you horror stories. I've scrubbed so much of that map so many times.
They just can't make up their mind.
Well, yeah, I mean, they just change things and do things differently. They'll add units, subtract units, change the style, you know, it's any number of things.
Years
And-
ago, before all these condos and units came being years ago, subdivision plans would come through with the house address on plan. So at the time we activated the plan, if it was a building permit or deed or whatever, we laid the plan out, we could put the address right in the system. So you had an address assigned to a vacant lot. But over the last 5-10 years, I don't see that anymore. They don't put those out. That would be a good thing for them to get back to, because we put in the database as soon as the lot was created, we'd have an address on the parcel. But you'd have to have cooperation as that being a requirement of the plan being, plan being passed.
Another change to the whole sign of the times. If you look at the north side of that map at the top, you have a cluster of homes. In their subdivision phase, that's all dropped in as one phase. But they don't bring those houses on, only through plan community amendments, a piece at a time. They may do 4 on one street, then jump to 3 more on another street, and bring them on in odd increments in different locations throughout the subdivision, and that's the norm. Well, look at parcel 38, got a house missing. They don't just go right straight down the street anymore. You gotta pay attention to these amendments that they file, because they are just like subdivision plans, where they can change the lot size, they can change any number of things about that subdivision. It carries the same weight as a subdivision plan. So there has to be a little bit of, I don't know, not jumping to put the addresses and locations on right away until they actually bring things on board, where they work themselves through the assessment office and are actually taxed. Then it's actually a sure thing, up until the point they built the house and assigned a permanent address. I see changes all the time. Walden is just classic. They're now in Upper Island, they're in Lower Island with the High Point subdivision. It's just, it changes as the market's needs change. The days of bringing on 50-lot subdivision phases have just been gone. It's more market-driven, based on needs.
This place, they're trying to be multi-use too, so that.
Oh, sure, you have residential and commercial mixed in with that.
Various types of housing.
Sure.
It's trying to be self-contained.
And you have units over top of commercial.
This is where they had to change the plan too, because weren't they being sued by phase 1 residents because there was a pool promised and then decided.
I'm not sure, I know, I'm not sure
Decided
about that.
to put a pool in, so they had to change the plan again.
That specific section there, those names that used to be Putnam Way, and, now it's Walden Way. Come back to where
And
it
there's,
was. Right in there. I bet I scrubbed that map at least 4 times in how they were gonna lay those units out, in different changes. It's very fluent. You can see the commercial strips on the front of that because they're a stack style unit.
I would guess you're gonna see this again too, as the Mechanicsburg moves forward on it, so.
Yeah.
and they also have these houses now that face this park, but they're addressing on this alley behind the house. There's no actually road in front of these houses that face the park. So there's all kinds of little interesting addressing
So the garages are on the road,
Yeah.
and the housing is
face the park.
much more.
Yeah, that development in Mechanicsburg is what, over 500 units or
It
something?
was 800, but I think they've made a number of changes, but it's a big parcel.
Is it underway up here?
the site clearance and such is underway.
It's going right here below, right there.
Infrastructure.
They're on the house one. I've not done anything in there.
Yeah, there's a low line flood area right through the middle of it.
Is that all in the borough?
Yep, it's all over right here. This. That tract. Landmark homes, it's sort of,
That's been a major drainage area.
yeah, there's a major drainage area right through here. It's flooded rather easily.
But especially if all the homes are built off South Park.
Right off there.
Where we're going is that.
You can see here, they have a flood area right here for buffering, so it comes right through here and then right through there. I think it's worth around that. All right, well, thank you. We'll be moving forward for this on January 1st release date. You'll be hearing more from the communications team, campaign for that.
Can they make a decision on the name search?
Oh, so we just want to make sure we're fine with offering this filtering option for names on our name site.
Currently, you can't look up by names, but that option is in there if you search for
You need an
it.
owner, property owner?
Yes.
But that data is available when you get the DVD, right? If someone comes to your office. and
You,
gets that.
no, you cannot search by name.
Even in the data you give them, if you give them the raw data.
Yeah, the data sale, the data DVD, you can search by name.
I'm not sure if you can search that by name or not.
Well, you could, the
By
data
part
is in there.
number, by address.
And then you can come in there and use the terminals.
Yeah, well, you can at the terminals, yes.
So it's public data.
Could we just run that past Keith, Brown, and our solicitor, make sure there's no issues before we, otherwise, like you said, it's public information. But we could just run that past
Yeah.
Keith and feel more comfortable.
And it's not really accessible. Like I said, I think only a power user is going to really come in there and know where to find that. It's not like we offer it right off the bat as functionality in the application.
Well, thank you, Gary. Dustin, thank you very much. Gary, you have any other questions? Any other business? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. Second.